Please join me in welcoming Brother Jalil Muntaqim.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace, paz, baragani, jambo, harin, haping, hafadea, guten tag, shalom. Whatever is your native language, I wish you peace and solidarity. As our dear brother Muhammad stated, my name is Jalil Muntaqim. I'm a veteran member of the Black Panther Party, the Black Liberation Army. I did 49 years inside U.S. penal slave system. Right? It's important for us to understand that it's in fact a slave system. It's important for us to understand that this country is in fact a slave nation. Right? It's important for us to understand that slavery was never abolished in this country. Do we understand that? Are we familiar with the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution? Okay, well, we're going to talk about that, amongst other things. Miguel, thank you. One of the things that's important for us to understand is, where did we get to the condition that we're in today? How did this happen? How did we get ourselves in this position that we are, not only in times of the United States, but in times of the entire world? Where did it begin? Papal Bull, 1493. You can read it, hear what it says, see what it says. This is what they did, right? Nicholas the third or sixth, Nicholas the Sixth and Pope Alexander the Sixth. It was two of them. So it was two papal bulls, right? We can deal with this one. It stated emphatically, right? To go around the world and colonize, to conquer, to rule. And if they fail to rule or fail to be submissive to this idea, right, to destroy them, to kill them, if you don't enslave them. And so what happened was this, right? Conquistadores. Y'all heard about that in your history classes. That's the reason why we don't have the Aztecs anymore. We don't have the Incas anymore. We don't have the Tianos anymore. We don't have the Arawaks anymore. Gone, off the planet, murdered, annihilated. Right, this is the history of this country. Right, we know the history of this country, don't we? Right? It began by what? By virtue of what? Genocides of the indigenous population. It's the history of this country. It's the foundation of this country. It's based upon genocides and enslavement of African people. So that's where we begin. Right, in understanding the centuries of this engagement of the planet by a group of people who believe themselves to be superior than any other people on the planet. Superior. And reduce everybody else to be less than. Right? That papal bull, that's where it began. Okay. So we can see for the history of the world what we are confronting, right? Especially in regards to black people, people of color. Look anywhere in the world, I don't care where you go. New Zealand, Australia, Germany, South Africa, Brazil, black people downtrodden. Is that right? Come on now, talk to me. This is a part of our engagement here. Right, because I need to know that you understand what I'm saying. Now, is that right? Where in the world are black people on the height, on the rise, right? Prospering, without the interference of the U.S., Britain, the colonizers, right? These are the conditions of the world. All right, so we have this situation here, right? United slave trade, the papal bull. Now you tell me, is that humane? It's not, right? What mentality, what thinking will allow you to do that to people? Huh? Tell me, what is the mentality? What is the moral foundation to allow this to happen? It's the idea of white supremacy. Is that right? I can't hear you. Is that right? If I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong. Jalil, you're wrong, man. Man, you crazy, man. What's happening? Tell me. But if I'm right, then we got a story to tell. We got to start rewriting that story. And that's the process. It's going to be a difficult process. It's going to be a hard process. It's going to be an arduous process. But you know where it begins? Right here. Right here. If it ain't in your heart, it ain't going to be in your mind. You got to feel it. We got to recognize the condition that we're in today based upon what I just showed you, where it started, from whence we came, the Papal Bull, right? And where we are today, right? The anti-slave trade. What kind of trauma? What kind of trauma have we experienced as a result of this? Right? It's so unimaginable that we don't want to imagine it. Right? And so, now the slave trade, then the Civil War, right? Then you put forth the proclamation or emancipation to emancipate. To emancipate what? Property. Right? Because black people is considered to be property, cattle, or chattel. Right? Read that. Read what it says. And it's important to understand what this says because what we're getting ready to get into is an understanding of nation-state building. Right? And what does that mean? What that implies. Okay? So, after the Emancipation Proclamation, Field Order Number 15. Many of you may not have heard of Field Order Number 15. Right? But a field order by General Tecumseh Sherman, when it's issued, it's almost like an executive order from the president. Right? When the general presents a field order. And so this is what we have here. Look what happened. Look what was developing. Right? The African slaves, or the Africans who were enslaved and emancipated, began to build their own national territory or foundation to build a liberated territory. Right? They established what called freedmen bureaus. Right? Was the organizational foundation of their own national territory. Right? From where? South abandoned rice fields, the St. Johns Rivers to the Florida Basin, a whole stretch of land was these emancipated Africans. And they began to build their own national territory, right? Their own livelihood. Okay? 40 acres and a mule, y'all heard about that? All right, there was an issue with. Yeah. It's all part of that process. And what happened with it? Right? That. Read that. What did it say? There's an exception clause in the Constitution that informs us that what? Slavery was never abolished. We live in a slave nation. The penal system in the United States, in fact, is a slave system. Right? I know, I was in there 49 years. I went in at 19, didn't come out till I was 68. And all the time I was in, I continued to resist, continued to fight, continued to organize. Because I understood that I, personally, was a political prisoner of war. I understood that. Been a member of the Black Panther Party, Black Liberation Army. Was out there engaged, on the box, doing the work. Okay, fighting back, resisting. And so they moved me from this territory and put me in another area. Right? They moved the terrain, the fight continued. It's the same fight, same struggle. I met organizations, I met people inside called the Black Guerrilla Family, right? Here in California. Why was the necessity to organize the Black Guerrilla Family inside the prisons? Because they had groups called the Aryan Brotherhood. And they had guards who was Nazis, neo-Nazis, killing black people inside the prison system. So they had to organize themselves to defend themselves, right? Called the Black Guerrilla Family. I can talk about that a little more, a little later. But let's understand while there's consequences or there's a response to certain conditions. Okay. And so we find here that slavery has never been abolished in this country. Right? We have a system of slavery that continues. We have a school-to-prison pipeline. What is that about? To maintain that system. We have mass incarceration. What's that about? Maintain that system. Who's most people inside the prison system? Black and brown. The same people they brought over here to be enslaved are the same people they continue to enslave. And they create the conditions, socioeconomic conditions, to ensure the system maintains. Not only that, but the major corporations are not investing in the penal system. Major corporations, wait a minute. Let me understand something. We have a penal system that's supposed to have people inside to be rehabilitated so they will come out and not engage in criminal activities based upon poverty for the most part, right? Because poverty is the progenitor for criminal behavior, right? You remove poverty. Well, you don't see a great deal of crime in affluent communities, do you? In affluent communities? Or maybe a different kind of crime, right? The kind that they don't go to prison for. Right? They buy the way out of. But in poor communities, go anywhere in the world, you look in the poor communities, you'll find high levels of crime. So there's a direct correlation between the two. All right? And they created it. And so after the Emancipation Proclamation, after the 13th Amendment, right, these Africans were slaves, these enslaved Africans are no longer enslaved, right? They had to figure out ways how to put them back into slavery. They created these. Right? And certain states had different ways that they put these things together, right? Put these laws together, these regulations, these policies, these ideals of maintaining the system of white supremacy. Read that, right? That's one. That's another. Did I put that in? Yeah. South Carolina. That's another. Most recently, the Supreme Court has made a ruling that stated if you are homeless and vagrant, you can be arrested and put in prison. Criminalizing poverty. Criminalizing homelessness. Same thing here. Vagrancy laws. That's what it's called. This is the history of this country. This is what we're confronting today. All right? So after the 13th Amendment came with the 14th Amendment. That's what this guy, the dictator, is now trying to eliminate, to a certain extent, the 14th Amendment. But look what it says. They wanted to know what to do with those 3 million Africans who are now no longer slaves. What to do about them, right? They never had a plebiscite vote for those Africans to determine whether they want to go back to Africa, establish their own homeland, right, or become part of this experiment they call America or the United States. 14th Amendment imposed on them. It was imposed on us, right? Never had no discussion, no meeting, white men making decisions about black people. That's what it amounts to, right? But wait a minute, we're talking about citizenship, but then they say that black people have what, second class? Huh? They lied. What do you have full citizenship? Second class citizenship, right? Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly known as Rat Brown, right? He said, either you're a citizen or you're not. Either you're a citizen or you're a slave. Okay? Tell me any woman in here, have you ever been half pregnant? Huh? Almost pregnant? I mean, maybe you understand. They got us half citizens, or almost citizens, something. All right? And we've been duped, we've been indoctrinated into believe this madness. It is madness. And we're going to get to that. I'm going to explain to you why I say it's madness. All right? After the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment. They lied to us. Read that. Unfortunately, white women, or women in general, didn't get the opportunity in 1870, to have the right to vote. But they gave it to black men, at least on paper. Huh? If that's true, then why we had to have the Voting Rights Bill of 1964, 1965? If that's true. If that's true, the right to vote in 1870, 71. What happened? And so this is what happened. Hayes-Tillman Compromise in 1877. Are you familiar with this? I didn't hear anything. Come on. Are you familiar with this? Yes. Yeah. You are? Great. I'm glad. Most people aren't. I'm glad to hear that. You see what happened though, right? The Hayes-Tillman Compromise, right? Rutherford B. Hayes won the collegiate vote, and Samuel Tillman won the popular vote. Samuel Tillman was a Confederate, okay? And they had a compromise. And the compromise was this. You had the presidency, but you had to remove the troops, right? The Yankee troops that was protecting the territory of the emancipated slaves who was building their own nation, right? Or at least building their own sovereignty, degree of sovereignty, right? And he removed the troops, and what happened? That's what happened. 100 years of brutality, savagery, eating of black flesh, yeah. Cutting off genitals and having them for souvenirs. Huh? What kind of mentality is that? What kind of thinking is that? Where's the heart? Yeah, 100 years. And that's led to the first migration of African people out of the South into the North and to the West, to the East. Had to go, right? Because the Confederates became who? The Ku Klux Klan. Huh? Yeah. These are the conditions that we are facing today. These are conditions that we are facing today. But this is the history of it. This is where it begins. This is how it evolved. And where I started at, 1490? Yeah, that long. That long. And so, this is not surprising then, when we come to understand the circumstance that led to this. It's not surprising. Now, let me ask this question. If that was black, brown, indigenous people storming Congress, there have been bodies all over the Congressional Plaza. They've been mowed down. Right or wrong? Okay. We're on the same page. That's good. You guys did a wonderful job, teacher, professor. Yeah. That's what they did. Right? To do what? To nullify the black vote. Well, wait a minute. The black man was supposed to have the vote in 1870. Right? Wait a minute. We're supposed to have the civil rights laws of, voting rights laws of 64 and 65. Nullifying the black vote. If you nullify the black vote, now we've been told that the vote is give us powers, right? Give us power to decide our lives and our destiny and so forth, right? By having the vote. And nullify the black vote, what are you nullifying? Nullifying black power. Right? The capacity for us to make a decision about our lives. So nullify the black vote, nullify black power, ultimately you're nullifying what? Black people. You're nullifying black people, right? How many people voted for the dictator? 79 million. An avowed white supremacist, a convicted rapist, one who publicly announced that he wanted to be a dictator. 79 million voted for him. And I imagine there's about 30 million who didn't vote or are sympathetic. That's 100 million people who are quote unquote anti-black. This is what we're confronting. This is the reality. And it's important for us to understand that. Because it is. Right? Wholesale murder. They're good at it. They've been doing it for centuries. Wholesale murder. That's Neely. All right? Murder on the subway train. Right? And the guy got acquitted. As soon as he got out of prison, out of jail, he went to go watch a football game. With who? Right? The white supremacist supports this kid. Right? Got called to sit in the presidential box, or whatever you call it, to watch a football game. This is how they think about us. Cold, heartless, morally corrupt. This is how they think about us. When is it going to stop? You tell me, when is it going to stop? Robert Brooks. Right, that was what 3-4 weeks ago? They murdered him inside the prison system. Yeah. What are we going to do about this? Black Lives Matter? That's what we're going to do, hashtag it? That's what we're going to do? Well, I asked the question, who didn't know Black Lives Matter? Who didn't know that? That black people has value, that they matter. Right? Outside of hip hop and rap and, fly clothes, all the accoutrements of culture, capitalist culture. Yes, we matter. Do we? You see this? This is your America. All right? We got a Nazi in the White House. What do you think about that? How you feel about that? Huh? How do your great-grandfather, great-grandmother feel about that when they fought World War II? It's forgotten history. What is it? This is the kind of talk that we have to have in this country, across the board. This is the kind of conversation that we need to have, right? We got to speak truth to power, unabashedly, right? Without reservation. You got to put your life on the line, because they're serious, right? You just heard, heard yesterday or today, that Trump's talking about they're going to take Gaza. Go take Gaza. But remember the foundation of this country. Let's not forget that. It's based upon genocide. They believe in genocide. We got 13 billionaires in the White House, in the cabinet. 13 billionaires. We no longer live in a democracy, people. This is not a democracy. They have all the trappings of a democracy. They allow you to vote. For who? Another millionaire, or wannabe millionaire. We live in a plutocracy. The rich rules. And now there's no mistaking it. There's no denying it. 13 billionaires in the cabinet of the White House. It's a plutocracy. The rich rules. And the laborers, the common wage laborer, he's trapped. Trapped in the illusion of inclusion. Right? You're not included. Not really. right? And they tell you lies, make you believe the lies, and you go along with the lies. This guy, right? He made over 200, in the last 3 weeks, he made another $102 billion or something like that. Yeah. They strip mining this country. That's what they're doing. All right? We got to understand the system of capitalism. The system of capitalism is based upon two ideals, two specific ideas: individualism and competition. If you remove individualism from capitalism, you don't have capitalism. If you remove competition from capitalism, you don't have capitalism. What's the opposite of that? Cooperation and unity. All right? That's what we have to build. We have to build greater cooperation amongst us. Right? We have to find the basis for which we can establish greater unity amongst us. All right? That's the only way we're going to win if you're engaging, if you're about to fight. All right? And I hope that you are. So let's understand something about this continuing processes of oppression, world dominance, this idea of American exceptionalism, right? The doctrine, the Monroe Doctrine. It's a replication of what? The doctrine of discovery. It's the same thing, right? New language for the same action. All right, they told what? They told the Europeans and the other parts of Europe, don't come over here. Don't come over to Western. We got this, all right? They took over the Caribbeans, South America, and other parts, right? Colonizing. The colonizers. Y'all remember Wakanda? What was that, Black Panther? And the guy, the CIA walked into the office and he said, "Hey, colonizer." Yeah, he recognized who she was from jump, okay? Yeah, that's our history in this country. That's the history of this country. I say our history. That's the history of this country. I don't claim this country. I refuse to proclaim the slaughter, all right, the annihilation, the genocides. I'm not making it part of me, okay? And that's what we have to do. We have to reject it. All right? We have to begin the process of understanding, to decolonize our thinking, decolonize our minds. Because we've been colonized, we've been indoctrinated. We live in a country that's traumatized, a traumatized nation. How are we traumatized, Jalil? Black people have suffered a system, a dehumanization, a devaluation, a demeaning for over 400 years. You think that has not had an effect on us? We are a traumatized race of people. But white people, y'all traumatized too. Yeah. Because y'all believe that bullshit. Y'all believe that you're superior to any other people on the planet. It's madness. Jalil, why you say they madness? Hey, don't take my word for it. Take their words for it. You ever heard of the DSM book? Right, the diagnostic book for psychology and psychiatrists? It's their Bible. And in that Bible, it says that people who are suffering from God complex or superiority complex are suffering from mental disorder. So I'm going to publicly tell you, white people, y'all crazy. You're out your minds. When you go look in the mirror, you say, I say crazy people. Yeah. Fact. That you believe that you're superior to any other people on the planet. That you dehumanize people to be less than. In the Constitution of the United States, it says African people are 3/5 of a man, of a human being. It's still there. It's still written in there. It's the law. Or at least the part of the Constitution. Has not changed. All right? Just like the 13th Amendment has not changed. 14th Amendment has not changed. 15th Amendment has not changed. Although he's trying to change the 14th Amendment. Right? Birthright citizenship. Okay? So it's important for us to understand its history and have a clear understanding of where we are today. It doesn't matter if you have black faces in high places, right? Because Obama didn't do a damn thing for black people. Okay? He was called the deporter-in-chief. He deported more people of Latin descent than any other people, any other president. All right? That's trauma. Indoctrination. That's one of the problems that we had with the civil rights movement. All right? Dr. King, Martin Luther King, in his latter days, he stated to Harry Belafonte that he was afraid that he was ushering his people into a burning building, into a burning house. All right? That's Dr. King said that. Right? He came to understand that this system of white supremacy, racism, is so embedded into the system that our people are being assimilated into a system of white supremacy. And he feared that. All right? And began to look at the world from another viewpoint, not just on a moral aspect, but from an economic and socio-economic viewpoint. Right? And that's when we began to criticize the war, the Vietnam War. Right? And began to organize what we call the Poor People's March. Right? To deal with the issues of economic deprivation, deliberate deprivation of poor people. During the 60s and the civil rights movement of the 60s, after the Watts riot, right, y'all's close enough to know about Watts riot, right, it had what's called a Kerner report, right, Kerner Commission. And the Kerner, it's K-E-R-N-E-R, Kerner report or commission determined what was the reason for the riots. They understood it. Did they do anything about it? No. What they did, they blamed the black people for being poor. Right? Saying they burned up their own houses and their own property, and et cetera. They ain't own shit. Excuse my language. They ain't own anything. Okay? And that's the condition that we're confronting today. Monroe Doctrine is a replication of the Doctrine of Discovery, American exceptionalism. And why is it important for us to understand that? This is the only country that used the atomic bomb. Not once, twice. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Twice. The only country that used chemical warfare, right? Defoliants in Vietnam, wiping out people. The only country in 6 months murdered 1 million people over a lie. The Iraqi war. How do we know it was a lie? Because Colin Powell went to the United Nations and told them he was duped. They never had weapons of mass destruction. Oil wars, corporate wars, right? And we send our children to fight these corporate wars so they continue to bleed out other peoples and other nations. The U.S. is like an octopus. Imperialism is like an octopus. That's the analogy that I give. It's like an octopus, right? And it has its tentacles all over the world, right? Sucking up the resources, sucking up the labor, right? From all around the world. And every once in a while, a tentacle gets cut, gets severed, right? A country will fight against colonialism or neocolonialism, and they'll sever it. That's what happened in Chile, all right, as an example. And what happened? They installed this guy named Pinochet, a fascist, right? And destroyed the socialist movement of Salvador Allende. It grew back, the tentacle grew back. Other parts, it grows back. Why? Because the head has not been dealt with. The head of the octopus has not been dealt with. That's problematic. That's the issue. The head has not been dealt with. So it goes back to these tentacles to continue to suck the resources, suck the labor. From what countries? Not European countries. People of color around the world. So we have a job. The world is waiting on you. Yeah. Straight like that. waiting on you. The Gazan, we're not going to free Palestine. Palestine is freeing us. Because opening up our eyes, removing the blinders, recognizing that genocide is real. And it's sponsored by your tax dollars. All right? No, Palestine is freeing us. All right? It's giving us a foundation, moral courage, a determination to resist, an ideal that we have a common humanity. That's what I'm asking you to do. Rise up to your common humanity. There's people on this planet. We're vicegerents of this planet. And they're destroying it. Profit over people. That's their model. All right? And by our silence, it's complicity. We're giving consent to what they're doing, a result of our silence. Okay. And so for black people, I ask the question, based upon the trauma, right? We know what's going on with our people in our communities. This kind of self-loathing, this self-hatred. Who taught you how to hate your kinky hair, right? Your brown eyes, your dark skin, bleaching, wearing wigs, and trying to identify as being white, right? Subliminally, in your conscious mind, subconscious mind, right? The losing of our national heritage, who we are. All right, me, I was talking to two young people earlier today, right, about this trauma of black people in this country, right, and how it's been imposed upon us. And I said, listen, because I don't identify myself as American. I am a new African, okay? I self-identify as new African. And I shared this understanding, why the necessity for that, because we have been identified as Negroes. Can y'all tell me what Negro land is? Where's Negro land? What's a Negro? What's his name made up from? They say it was supposed to be a word Spanish for black. I ain't Spanish. Huh? So we got a problem. Self-identity. Your oppressor named you, and you accept the name of your oppressor. Wait a minute. Something wrong with that picture. It's trauma. It's colonized mentality. All right? But we are a people who have been miscegenated with the Mandinkas, the Ibus, the Yorubas, the Fan, Arabs, British, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the Spanish, the Cherokee, the Creek, the Seminoles. That's our genetic bloodline. My great-grandma was Creek, was Skokie, from Alabama. My great-grandfather met her, 1880-something. I can't remember the date, right? He came from Jamaica. I'll tell you a little story. He was maroon. I was being paroled from San Quentin prison, and my grandmother came. She said, listen, probably be the last time I see you, right? Because I was moving from San Quentin to New York, ended up in Attica, right, for the work that I was doing as a young man, young revolutionary, all right? So she said, listen, it's probably gonna be the last time I see you, so I'm gonna tell you why you are the way that you are. And she came with her son, my uncle, Uncle Joe, right? I looked at Uncle Joe. Grandma talking about, she gonna tell me how I am, why I am the way I am. All right? I said, well, this is strange. She said, Uncle Joe, be quiet, let's see Grandma. I said, okay, cool. So Grandma said, listen, do you know what a maroon is? I said, yeah, I know what a maroon is. She said, well, okay, listen, your great-grandfather's a maroon from Jamaica. Right? He got in trouble in Jamaica. He came to the United States. He came to Georgia. He got in trouble in Georgia. Right? He moved to Alabama. Okay, he moved to Alabama and he met his wife, right? Anesthesia Thomas was her name, slave name. Yeah, they also enslaved indigenous, right? And they got married. He got in trouble again, and he moved to Louisiana. And when he moved to Louisiana, he changed his name. He says, I'm at the bottom, right? This is my birth-given name, Anthony Bottom, right? He said, I'm at the bottom, I don't have nothing, so change my name to Bottom. And that's how we got our name, all right? It's a made-up name, I'm glad. At least I ain't named after no slave master. So I said, okay, that's a nice story, Grandma. She said, well, here you are, getting in trouble, going around the country, and changing your name. You're just like your great-grandfather. Okay. It gives you a foundation of where you've been, who you are, right? It gives you a basis to understanding who you are as a person. And many of us, particularly black people, who I'm speaking to, right, we don't have that foundation, right? We don't know, we don't have a grasp of that history outside of slavery, or being enslaved, or having been enslaved. Okay? We have not traced our roots back to Africa. Our foundation, our real foundation. And they want to prevent that from ever happening. All right? And I was talking to, like the Latinas, right? I said, what would happen tomorrow if every black person in the United States starts speaking Swahili? Woke up in the morning, everybody's talking Swahili. Will that change the dynamics in our relationships with other people? Like the Latin people or the Asian people who can speak their native language? Not African people, not people of African descent here in this country. Colonized mentality. We have to decolonize our thinking. This indoctrination that white is right. All right? This is the story we have to tell people. And so, we still charge genocides. 2018, I was locked in a special housing unit. We call it Shoe the Box, right? And I was put in the box for teaching an approved African study class. This is an Attica correctional facility. All right. And I started from 1861 and brought it up to 1966. So when we bring it up to 1966, I cannot talk about 1966 without talking about the Black Panther Party. It came in existence in October of 1966, October 15, 1966. So I started talking about the Black Panther Party, and you know what they did? They closed the program down and put me in box for 4 months, solitary confinement. Said I was trying to teach these young men to become militants. Yep, that's what I was doing. Absolutely correct. Yeah. You know who I had in the class? JDs, Gangster Disciples, Bloods, Crips, Nietas, the gangs. That's who's inside the prison system. So I'm re-educating them, give them a better foundation. And they say, no, we're not having that. Because they want them to have a criminal mentality so they can return to the community and become repeat offenders. Right? So to maintain the system of mass incarceration. The system of what? Slavery. Penal slavery. So very similarly, this discussion here, if they wanted to, they come shut it down. Because they want to keep you indoctrinated. So I'm thanking Pomona College for giving this opportunity, right? As I'm also thanking the 5C Prison Abolition Collective for inviting me for this discussion, right? So yeah, I did 4 months. And while I was there, I asked my comrades, who was the head of the National Jericho Movement organization that I established in 2000, excuse me, in, yeah, 2000, no, was it 2000? No. Oh, 1998. 1998, started National Jericho Movement, right? Movement in support of political prisoners in the United States. Myself, a sister by the name of Sophia Bakari. If you've not heard of Sophia Bakari, Asha Bakari, I urge you to get her book called The War Before, right? Just briefly, Sophia Bakari was a college student, like you all. And she's on her way home from school. She saw some police beating up a Black Panther Party member who was selling some newspapers, right? And she didn't understand why. So she went to the office to find out. Became a member. Yeah, became a member. And during the course of the Panther 21 case, it's a whole different scenario that I can talk about, but we won't have time today, right? The whole Panther leadership of New York was taken off, put in jail, the Panther 21 case. So she's able to rise and take leadership, right? As part of keeping the Panther, excuse you, bless you, right? Keeping the party moving, going forward, right? And she also made efforts to win the release of some of our members who was incarcerated, and ultimately resulted in her being arrested, captured, right? Being captured, she was sent to prison, went to Alderson Prison in Virginia, and escaped. Yeah, she escaped. Oh yeah, we listen, I had 5 escape attempts. Okay. And she escaped. She's one of the successful ones, okay? And, but the reason why she escaped, because she needed medical treatment. They wouldn't be providing her. So she left. Went, got her medical treatment, went back in the underground, got arrested, came back to prison, and defended herself and won. Yeah. Came out of prison and right back in the movement again. Come visit me and say, Jalil, man, what you need to be done? Build a Jericho movement, all right? She and another brother by the name of Baba Herman Ferguson. Baba Ferguson was a contemporary of El Haj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, all right? Also a COINTELPRO victim. He had to go into exile. They accused him of wanting to kill Whitney Young and damn, I can't remember this guy's name, who's the head of the NAACP back then. COINTELPRO, right? So he went to exile, went to Ghana, to Guyana, became a colonel in the army in Guyana, came back, did time in Attica, came out, back in the movement, right? And so we decided we organized the Jericho movement. And so as part of the Jericho movement, we had the international jurors come to the United States, right? International jurors found that the United States, in fact, has political prisoners because the United States was in denial that they had political prisoners. Okay. The reason why? Because they didn't want the world to know that they have resistors, people fighting back. Okay. And so, as a result of that, in 2018, as I made mention, I went to the box because of a teacher's class. Right? I called my brother, who was the chairman of the National Jericho Movement, Political Prisoner Support Group, and I said, listen, we need to bring international jurists back. And he said, agreed. But this time, we're going to raise another issue. We're going to have an international tribunal. Okay, and the issue was genocides. All right, on October 22nd to 25th, right, we had the international tribunal, and we brought 5 charges. International jurors. These people belong to the United Nations and various other, UNESCO and various other international bodies, esteemed, right? We had 30 witnesses, boxes of documents that they reviewed. And they determined, based upon the 5 issues that we brought to them, mass incarceration. Is that true? Okay. Health inequities. Why is it that black people have more health problems than any other people? Right? Diabetes, heart disease, you name it. Right? Health inequities. Environmental racism. Right? You find many of our communities are in polluted territories, polluted areas. Right? The redlining created conditions for us to be ushered into, black people ushered into areas of pollution, where it used to be industrial parks and those types of things. Right? Environmental racism. State-sanctioned violence gives our people. Police killing us. Yeah. Well, we know that. They know they kill us. All right? Some we hear about, majority we don't. Every day. Black man, black woman, brown man, brown woman is being murdered in this country. State-sanctioned violence. Right? And lastly, the existence of political prisoners. Right? And as a result of those 5 charges, they determined, the international jurors determined, that the United States is in fact engaging in genocide against black, brown, and indigenous people. Did you hear what I just said? And esteemed by the international jurors found the United States guilty of the charge of genocide against black, brown, and indigenous people. We are suffering genocides. What I hear? Crickets. Yeah, same thing I heard from the media, corporate media. Now, if that was found against China, against the Uyghurs, but international news, international body, esteemed body, international jurors found China guilty of genocide against the Uyghurs. Why not here? Because it's policy. This is what they do. From 1492 to today. If they cannot profit from you, you are expendable. Profit over people. The system we live in. Okay, so as a result of that decision, my comrades and I decided we need to do something. All right? We need to figure out new ways of how to survive this madness. All right? That's what we're doing. We're building decolonization programs across. See, I'm not just talking about the issues. I'm talking about solutions. That's my talk. All right? What we're going to do about the situation, people, we got to create alternative systems of governing, because this is not working for us. It never have, and it never will. We have to decolonize our thinking. We have to free our minds. You know, the funky part of the Parliament Funkadelics was a group back in the days, right? They had a song that I really enjoyed. And it said, free your mind, nothing, and your ass will follow. That's the song. Free your mind and your ass will follow. We have to free our minds. Thought precedes action. Is that correct? Huh? How you think is the determining factor of what you do. Right? If you think like a criminal, you're going to act like a criminal. Right? If you think like a capitalist, you're going to act like a capitalist. If you think like a free man or woman, you're going to do that to secure your freedom. Free your mind. Right? Put your ass to work. All right, that's what we're doing. We're doing decolonization programs across the country. We're going to call what we call People Senate. That's what we're organizing across this country today. All right. So I invite you to go to spiritofmandela.org/over to People Senate. Sign up. join, help us, to free us, all right? Because we all in it together. It's not a Jalil show, right? It's our show. This is the world that we have inherited, right? And I'm in the process of trying to pass the baton, right? It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It is a marathon from generation to generation. That's how we'll be able to survive to where we are today, particularly black folks in this country. From generation to generation, all right? But in doing so, it's important to know that you're in the race, okay? So when I relay race, when I pass that baton, you gotta be ready to get it. Pick it up in stride. Don't slow us down. Matter of fact, you take up the, what do they call it? What do they call the last runner? I can't remember what they call him. Huh? The anchor. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Y'all become the anchor. All right. Make sure we win. Take it over the finish line. All right. We got to pass the baton. I've been engaged in this struggle since I was 16 years old. That's when, actually before then. And the reason why, and let me just share, I'm going to give you another story. My mom was and this is one of the reasons why I think the way I do. My mom was a student of African dance as a young woman, okay? And her teacher, her instructor of African dance told her, "You're African." Okay? She don't let nobody call you a coon, a Negro, a colored person, the N-word, or anything else. You're African, all right? And that's what she taught my sister and I, teaching us the African dance, how to move and rhythm. All right, matter of fact, when I was 15 years old, she bought me kunga drums for my 15th birthday, right, to keep the culture in the house. All right? So that's my POV. That's my thinking. That's how I grew up. That's my identity, knowing that. So you call me an N-word, call me any other word, we fighting. All right? I'm not having it. I'm going to tell you another story. Very important. I grew up in the periods of Jim Crow, and black people had to sit at the back of the bus, right? And I was baptized Catholic. That's ironic. Yeah, so I was going to Catholic school for the first five years, first five years of school. The 6th year, they wouldn't let me come back. Kicked me out. I got kicked out a lot of places, but that's a whole nother story. Any rate, got on the bus, and this day, 9 years old, I decided I'm going to sit up front with the white people. Right? That's what I did. I'm going to sit up front with the white people. The bus driver turned around and said, "Yo, you know you're not supposed to sit up here. Go to the back of the bus." Okay? So I stood up, and one white woman said, "No, he can sit here with me." Okay? He can sit up here up front with me. That's what I did. Okay? The bus driver wasn't going to have a beef with this white woman on a crowded bus. You're not going to do that. Okay? She got off of the bus stop, and I still sat there. He turned around and said, "Okay, she's gone. Take your black ass to the back of the bus." I stood up, looked around, see would any other white person allow me to sit up front. Looked in their face, looked in their eyes. 9 years old. None did. You know what I did? Went to the back of the bus. But it was a lesson for me. 9 years old. The lesson was this, that there's some people who have the moral courage to refute the law, to stand up against the law, right? To say, "No, this is wrong. This is morally offensive to me." But the majority, go along, get along, go along. Or go along, get along. They don't find the moral courage. They won't fight back. They won't resist what they know in their heart is wrong. That's a lesson. So the question for me to you is, do you have that moral courage? Do you? Check yourself. Look in that mirror. Let me know what you see. Michael Jackson's song, what's it called, Man in the Mirror? Yeah, you got it. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that one. You know what I mean? We have to do that. Self-check sometimes. All right? We also got a movement, 13 Forward, all right, to end penal slavery. All right? It's another campaign that we're working on to end penal slavery in this country. All right? Because if you end penal slavery, you end the foundation for many other things. All right? This degree of poverty, corporate investment in the penal system to sustain it, to reap profits from free labor or pennies on a dollar. Millions of dollars are being made off of free labor in the country. Like I said, we live in a slave nation. Well, this is the real problem. This is a problem. Growing fascism. They're building cop cities all across this country. Right? And what are they being trained for? Anybody know? They're being trained in urban warfare. Look it up. They're training law enforcement across this country in urban warfare. Against who? What have they been trained for? Us. So let me ask the question. If they knew at some point in time they need to train law enforcement in urban warfare, then they knew that the conditions that exist for that to happen. If they knew the condition exists, why not change the condition? So they don't have to do this. Whatever it means, a reallocation of funds, a reallocation of money, reallocation of wealth in this country. They're not going to do that. This is what we're looking at, people. All right? We have this guy named Hegseth, who's been nominated and approved to become the Defense Secretary of the United States. All right. He's head of the Marines, the Army, the Air Force, National Guard, Coast Guard, and he's a neo-Nazi. That's scary. Neo-Nazi, head of the military of the United States. It's deliberate. It's intentional. They know what they're doing. All right? And the world is looking, saying, what the hell is going on in the United States? You got a neo-Nazi head of the state, the national, the Army, the Navy, National Defense, right? Who, along with this, the dictator, has his finger on the nuclear weapons. You're not afraid? You're not concerned? Yeah, we got some difficult times ahead of us. Real talk. And we got to get ready. We got to get prepared. For real. This is serious. They're putting up detention centers all on the southern border for sending people back to wherever they came from. After they send out who they want to send out, then they're going to shut them down? Then they're going to close them? You think they're going to mothball those? Huh? Nope. They're not. Why? We live in a slave nation. It's in the Constitution. They're going to figure out ways how to put people in those places and free labor. That's their plans. It's harsh reality. It's difficult for them to think their possibilities. It's here. Right? And 79 million people voted for it. But it also means there's 150 other million people that had not. That's our constituents. That's what we have to reach out to. All right? We have to prepare. We have to get organized. We have to build the People's Senate. We have to create new alternative systems of governing. All right? Because the plutocracy, the oligarchs, they ain't gonna work for us. They're not. Be certain about that. They're not. Okay? Cop City, across the country, fascism is here, people. It's here. All right, I will close my little talk for now, and I'll open up the mic for questions. Come on now.
Does anyone have any questions for Brother Muntaqim?
Questions, cuss words, Jalil, you lying, anything. So we're all in agreement. Okay. spiritofmandela.org, sign up, People's Senate. Right? Here's a question.
A question?
No one has any questions?
No. Oh, sorry.
Hi, thank you. I saw the date on the page with the webinar was in 2023. I was wondering if that's like an annual event happening this year?
Which one are you talking about? This is on...
The People's Senate intro webinar?
Yeah, we are in discussion now. We have 900 people across the country that's already signed up. All right, so we're going through the process of vetting and organizing the People's Senate. We're doing phone banking, right? Trying to get 100 a clip and to see where people are, what their politics are. To become part of the People's Senate, you got to have this 5 criteria. All right, anti-white supremacists, anti-capitalism, anti-imperialism, anti-patriarchy, right? Anti-fascist. Last one, pro-national liberation of oppressed people. Now, if you adhere to those principles, you adhere to those ideals, right? You're willing to fight for those goals and objectives, then you're supposed to be part of the People's Senate. All right. We are splitting the country up into regions. That's how we're going to organize this. Right? In every region, going to have organizers, right? People who identify themselves as part of the People's Senate to select an individual who will become a representative or what we call a senator in each of those regions. And those senators will come together and they'll discuss the national issue and make a decision as to what issues of national import that we need to work with across the country. Okay? We have to begin to create national networks of resources. Called the oligarch, those 13 billionaires as part of the cabinet are reaping exorbitant profits from their positions, gonna leave us high and dry. All right? So it's important, it's imperative that we begin to build resources, begin to develop a national network of those who are organizing in the community, got boots on the ground. So we have a relationship with one another, have a better understanding of what we are up against collectively. Right? What I say about capitalism, individualism, and what competition. And what we have to address is cooperation amongst each other and build greater unity. Unfortunately, because of how we've been indoctrinated, some of the negativity seeps into our movement, seeps into our struggle, right? Like individualism and like competition, right? Because we have yet to purge that from our nature. We're in the process of doing so, right? And in so doing, we begin to have greater cooperation with one another and be able to establish a foundation. Now keep this in mind. This country was put together by 13 men, white men, right? Can you imagine a world without white supremacy? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a world where your labor equitably distributed, resources are equitably distributed? Can you imagine that? If you can't imagine it, it will never be manifest. But if you can imagine it, we can make it happen. 13 men, white privileged men, made this country. Know what we can do collectively? We can remake it. We can establish that what we know is true in our hearts, that is real, that rises up our common humanity, and build upon that. Che Guevara once said that he never knew a revolutionary was not motivated by what? Love. He said he couldn't imagine a revolutionary not being motivated by love. We have to grow love for each other. We're all in it together. We are. We got to save the babies. You know, when I first got started in the movement, like I told you, my mom was an activist. She was in NAACP. She used to carry us on marches and stuff like that. Where we going? You know, here. You know, that's how I was raised during that era. Right? I established the first black student union in my high school. Right? Because they didn't teach black studies. We had to fight for that. Okay. And so that's the course of action that we have to take, right? We have to understand this history. We got to understand who we are as a people on this planet, right? We got to understand that there are individuals who are in opposition to our very existence, particularly black, brown people, especially black, brown people, okay? And we have that understanding, then we have a foundation, a basis from which we can unite, right? Knowing that we have a common enemy, right? A common goal and objective, right? So we say, free the land, say free the people, free the land, right? And for our political prisoners, we say free them all, right? There's a brother by the name Imam Jamil Al-Amin. He's in dire condition right now, formerly known as H. Rap Brown, right? Who was an organizer of SNCC back in the Civil Rights Movement. He's in jail for a crime he did not commit. He did not commit it. How do we know he didn't commit it? Because somebody confessed to it on national TV. Confessed to it. They won't let him out. And he's suffering from cancer. All right? Another brother by the name of Kamal Siddiqui. Kamal Siddiqui, former member of Black Panther, veteran member of Black Panther Party, veteran member of Black Liberation Army, did time, got out, started establishing his home, back home. FBI came to him and said, listen, we want you to set up Assad al-Shakur. Y'all know about Assad al-Shakur? All right, we want you to set up Assad al-Shakur. Okay? He said, if you don't set her up, we can put you back in prison for the rest of your life. See, he refused. You know why? One of the reasons why he refused, one, he's principled. But second reason, he and Assad has a daughter together. Right? He's in prison right now for a crime he did not commit. COINTELPRO, counterintelligence program. Oh, let me just share one more thing about genocides. I meant to say this earlier. I just want to read. Have you all read the 1948 Convention on Genocides? Has anyone read it? Right? Get my book, go to page 49. I'm going to read it right quick. The present Convention of Genocides means any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part That means you don't have to wipe you all the way out, right? They can diminish your capacity to grow. It's genocidal. Okay, and it says killing members of the group. We know they be killing us, right? Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, okay? Incapacitating you. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. It's genocidal. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. Mass incarceration, right? You have millions of people who sent to prison at a young age. Stay in prison 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Not reproducing. Not reproducing. At the age of the time where they're most able to reproduce. Preventing the births. All right? So they ain't killing you, putting you in prison for decades. If you look at the population, census of the population for black people in this country, it's almost stagnant. It's damn near flatlined. True, fact. There's no growth population. All right? And also for white people, no growth population. That's one of the reasons why they want to stop women from deciding what to do with their bodies. Yeah. And forcibly transferring children of a group to another group. We know they did that with the indigenous. Gave them to mercenaries. Cut off their hair. Changed their language. Changed their names. It's genocide. Now the thing about genocide is this here. According to the protocols, or according to the convention, it says that genocides can be punishable. It's punishable, right? Genocides, the following shall be punishable: genocides, conspiracy to commit genocides, direct and public incitement to commit genocides, attempt to commit genocides, and complicity in genocides. And the United States was found guilty of the charge of genocides. Yeah, found guilty. Now, keep this in mind also, 18 USC 1091, right? Go look in the books, right? Look it up. It's the United States Treaty to Genocide, to the 1948 Convention. Federal law. They're in violation of their own laws. The same language, practically word by word, is in federal law. Okay? And they're in violation of it. They lie. Just as they did with the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment. Okay? Same thing with these laws. So we got work to do. All right? And the first thing is that you have to check your own conscience. All right? Check your heart. All right? And understand that if we fail to do anything, if we fail to respond to these conditions, we're doomed. Because they ain't playing. They are serious. All right? And for white folks, let me just make this point. There's a story about Elhaj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. He gave a presentation in Philadelphia, the University of Pennsylvania, right? And after his presentation, a young white girl came up to him and said, "Listen, I like your presentation. What can I do? What can I do?" He looked at her, told her nothing, and walked away. Right? After he matured, right, and got a better understanding, he knew that was a fault of him, having told her that. So I'm not going to tell you that, nothing. I'm going to tell you to go to Aunt Jenny, Uncle Bubba, and tell them to put down that Confederate flag. That's what I'm going to tell you to do. I cannot tell a white person not to be a white supremacist. I can't do that. You have to do that, right? Only thing I can tell the white supremacists, you're not going to impose that on me. That's what I can do. That's your belief? Go ahead. You can be all the white supremacists you want to be over there. Don't bring that crap over here to me. I'm not having it. All right? So that's what you got to do. At your Christmas dinner, at your Thanksgiving dinner, right? Tell Uncle Barbara, Aunt Jenny, I ain't part of you. I ain't about what you're about. That's a discussion that you all have to have with yourselves. Okay? 79 million voted for this character, the orange dictator. Right? That means there's at least 100 million left, 100 million more, who's opposed to it. We have to get organized. Because we don't, we're doomed. All right. No more questions? No? Oh, there's a brother up there.
Thanks for your talk. The question I have is, obviously I reject the idea of what my country stands for, but at the same time, I'm also like not willing to leave this country. So what is like an appropriate response I should tell to people who tell me, oh, go back to your country if you don't want to be here?
Tell them to go back to their country. If they're indigenous, tell them to go back to their country. You know, how in the world who has the right to tell you that you don't belong here? The government, apparently, right? But as individuals, right, again, when we're talking about their silence is complicit. And so those who are saying that they're complicit to the idea of genocides, right? And so you tell them, stop committing genocides, right? You tell them stop being racist or hateful, right? Tell them to go back to England or Scotland, you know. No, but I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm laughing. It seems ironic that you even have to think that way. But let's see, that's the depth of the problem. They believe that. That's their trauma. That they're superior and that you're inferior. See? It's a system of white supremacy. So tell them to stop being white supremacists. Okay? And if you don't want to be, tell them if you don't want to be a white supremacist, if you don't stop being white supremacist, go to England. They'll accept you over there. Yeah. Any other question?
Cool. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for being here. It's like really an honor to be in the same room and hear you speak. So yeah, big thank you. I guess I'm kind of curious about like the formation of a widespread people's Senate, and like if there are ways going into like its formation that people are considering like individualist tendencies to hoard power within like those established institutions across like, you know, a wide span of people presumably fighting for liberation, and like if that's built into the structure or what people have thought about in that realm. I'm also curious about leveraging collective power like that, if it's being leveraged for like a political type of power or like on the ground power, like organized kind of like shared networks of power. And also, sorry, this is so many questions and
There's no problem having. There's no problem having. What's your name?
What is my name? Zephyr?
Zephyr?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And the last thing is just creating like appropriate, healthy ways, to cultivate like healthy power dynamics.
Sure. First of all, I want to thank you, right, for being here. Right? I want to thank all of you for being here. You all are the exception, right? Because you made a decision to be here rather than being at the bar or the club or wherever else you guys go hang out. Okay? So thank you, for coming and listen to this old guy talk about his history. Everything you said is yes. That's what we're working towards, right? Initially, it's going to be cadre organizing, okay? Building cadres of people who wants to represent the idea of the People's Senate, right? I already told you what the principles are, right? Anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, anti-patriarchy, anti-white supremacy, anti-fascist, pro-national liberation of independence of people, of oppressed people, right? Now it's a question of nuts and bolts, right? To identify the individuals who accept these principles and understanding, right? Find out what the resources they have, what organizations they've been, their political growth and development, because we have uneven political growth and development across the country, and that's problematic as well, right? So we're going to have to have new seminars, as the person over there asked about. We're going to establish a new seminar once we get more people engaged across the country, because we want to have these representatives speak about what's going on in their territory, in their areas, okay? We're going to try to unite these forces together, right, based upon a common goal, common objective, right? Creativity, of course. We will not try to stifle anyone's creativity. As a matter of fact, we want to encourage it, right? Note that this is new to us as well, right? This is new territory. We're trying to create something that most people say is unimaginable, right? We're going to imagine what our future's going to look like. As a young person, I thought that we're going to have revolution in my lifetime. And again, no. It's a marathon, generation to generation. So I'm not longer fighting for myself. I got a grandchild at home. I'm fighting for that baby, right? What world do I want to leave for that child? That's important. What world do you want to leave for your children? If you're not thought about that, I have to ask you why, right? We have to be visionaries. So everything that you ask, we will be addressing as part of organizing, okay? I cannot give you a definitive answer because I don't know. I'm the kind of person, what I know, I know. What I don't know, I don't know. All right, and I'll tell you that. I don't know. Let's go research, okay? But everything that you stated, everything that you asked, the questions you asked, yes, we're going to be engaged. And I will ask you, get involved and bring your questions with you so we can ensure that your contribution is dealt with, right? That's what we need. So thank you for that question. All right, creativity, we're going to develop a network of resources, individuals. We're going to find out who are involved in organizations and who are like individuals, who's doing the work. All right, and we're going to be able to categorize each one. We're going to create a database, right, so that we have an understanding of what we're working with and then build on the basis of that. The region in the northeast region of Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts may be different than the region of Texas, Alabama, Louisiana, and Arizona, because the conditions are different. The social dynamics are different in those parts of it. So we will try to bring those forces together, bring those understanding together, and build on the basis of that. Yeah. Yes, sis, I see you back there. Tentatively raising your hand. Come on.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I mean,
My name is Lena.
Lena.
This is a question I've had. Yeah, I don't know if like everybody here might be interested, but I'm personally very interested as you can see, I'm Muslim.
No.
I remember like in my Islamic studies class, because I went to an Islamic school, K through 12. I remember I like came across you. I think I wasn't paying attention in class, and like I think I was like just on Instagram, and I'd come across you, and like your book, and I'd started reading it. I've actually never finished it, but I purchased it, so inshallah I'll be able to finish it.
Inshallah.
But yeah, I think like for me, particularly like during COVID, I'll try to make this quick. I'm sorry. I remember I was like struggling a lot with like my Islam, but I think like as I like began reading about like I like read Malcolm X's book, and like I of course like discovered you and your work. I feel like I like developed like a close relationship with Islam, or like I feel like I believed in it a little bit more, like because I think I like saw Islam in a new light through like the resistance lens, I guess. So I'm like very curious to hear about like your relationship to Islam and how you bring your Islam into your organizing, especially as like me, and I think some of like the Muslims like here in this room or maybe are not in this room have like sort of struggled a little bit because unfortunately I feel like the Muslims who have like sort of joined this fight, including myself, have like joined it very late because as you've been discussing, Black, both Muslim and non-Muslim people in the U.S. Have been like undergoing and experiencing genocide.
Let me give you my personal introduction to Islam. All right, it's a story. I was captured on August 28th, 1971. All right, as a result of the murder of my dear beloved comrade George Jackson, who was murdered on August 21st, 1971, in San Quentin. So we went to retaliate against his being murdered, and we had a technical malfunction. The machine gun jammed, all right, and was captured. So as a result of that, yeah, I'll tell the story. It's all recorded, it's history. And so as a result of that, I was sent to prison. Eventually I was sent to New York for another case, right? I had 3 convictions for another case. And while there, at that time, I considered myself a black communist, okay? And they put me into a jail where 2 other guys who were part of the movement was there, right? One guy by the name of Max Sanford, he was the head of an organization called RAM, Revolutionary Action Movement. That came out of Detroit. Another person by the name of H. Rap Brown, who was the head of SNCC at one point in time. He also became a member of the Black Panther Party. And while I was there, the 3 of us in one area by ourselves, right? And I used to watch these guys praying. Right? Max Sanford became Muhammad Ahmed, and H. Rap Brown became Imam Jamil Alameen. And I was asking them, what the hell y'all doing praying, man? What y'all praying for? What's this about? You praying? We supposed to be fighting, trying to get the hell up out of here. Right? Now I'm praying to some what? I argued with them about 6 months. Right? Because I wasn't trying to feel it. And me, I'm kind of hard-headed. You know, you just ain't gonna tell me something, I'm gonna just go for it. You gotta give me some reasons. And I got what they call a Faustian compromise. Damn if you do, damn if you don't, right? And the question was, in our discussion particularly with Jamil Alameen, because these guys, at that time I was, 20, 21, and these guys are a few years older than me, long history in the movement, the struggle, civil rights movement, into the Black Power movement, et cetera. Right? So they was respected, and for me, they were respected as my elders and as also known revolutionaries. And so we argued for about 6 months. And I came to a Faustian compromise. And the Faustian compromise was this. You a good person? I said, yeah, man, you know I'm a good person, yeah. You got a good heart? Yeah, you know I got a good heart. He said, well, listen, if there's Jannah, or Jahannam, right? If there's an afterlife, right, and you're a good person, right, and become Muslim, right, then you'll be able to, and certainly, at some point in time, get to Jannah, right, paradise, heaven, whatever you want to call it, right? And if you're still a good person and you don't, right, the question is this: what do you lose? Right? So being a good person, but not being adherent to the Islam or not being here to believing in the divine, you might lose out on the Jannah. Right? And so it does not take anything away from me. You see what I'm saying? It gave me something more. That's one. The second point was this. In the Quran, it says, fight tumult and oppression wherever you may find it. Tumult and oppression is worse than slaughter. That's a clincher for me. So unlike Christianity, right, where you're supposed to love your enemy, right, and they slap you on one side of the face, you're supposed to give them the other side, so they slap you again. You slap me in my face, I'm fighting you back. No, it ain't happening. Okay? So, it did not take away from me. It added for me. It gave me a spiritual grounding, a foundation to fight tumult and oppression wherever I may find it. And that would be pleasing to the divine. We're spiritual beings. All right? All of human existence is spiritual being. The whole planet is spiritual. Look, this here, right, made out of the same atoms as this floor, as this microphone I'm holding. It's the composition of the atoms that change their difference. We, human beings, are known to be of 103 of the 126 elements of the planet. That's our composition. So, if there's any difference between us, the color of our skin, the texture of our hair, that's it. Everything else is the same. As a species on this planet. Right? Second of all, the Quran tells us to be vicegerents of the planet. To be protectors of the planet. What's wrong with that? Nothing. So it added to me. It gave me another foundation for which I can engage the struggle. Right? With the aspiration at some point in time, when this time is gone, Wallace in inside Allah for cursor. When this time is gone, right, perhaps I will make it to the Jannah. So it's an add-on. It's not a taken away. Now, let me make this point clear too. I'm not a fundamentalist. Okay? I don't profess to be a fundamentalist. I only profess to be a Muslim. And all Muslims suffers. Okay? Well, none of us, in my estimation, from my experiences, are like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the one who was out there. Okay? So, keep your faith. Right? Because with faith is hope. Right? And if we have hope, we have nothing. And that's the basis of our understanding of being a person, being a human being on this planet, being a species on this planet. Right? And we have an obligation to preserve the planet. But you only can preserve the planet if you preserve the people on the planet. Who's responsible? Okay. So, fight tumult and oppression wherever you may find it. Tumult and oppression is worse than slaughter. Why is it worse than slaughter? Because you're no longer suffering if you're dead. That's why it's worse than tumult and oppression. Right? Because tumult and oppression creates suffering for people. And that's what we want to do. We want to end the suffering. That's a religious obligation to relieve the suffering. And that's my motivation. Right? Love for people. Right? But in order to have love for people, you gotta have love for yourself. And you saw this, you saw that. Right? We've been taught not to have love for each other. or have love for yourselves. Okay. So, yeah, that's my answer. All right. Fight tumor on the pressure wherever you may find it. Tumor on the pressure is worse than slaughter. All right. We are the vicegerents of the planet. We have an obligation to ourselves, and in so doing, we have an obligation to our Lord, to our Creator. Okay. If you fail that obligation, you fail your God. I don't care what name it is, because there's only one God. All right. For the Christians, and I ask you to do two things. One, learn the language of Jesus Christ, the beloved prophet Jesus Christ. His language was what? Aramaic. You know the name of God in Aramaic? Allah. It's not what Jalil says. This is what the scholar says. Same name. Elohim, after Jewish. This is derivative of the same name. All right? This is how they keep us divided. Okay? But the reality is there's only one divine. All right? And also for the Christians, go to the Nicene Council. Go study about the Nicene Council, how Constantine changed the whole dynamics of Christianity. Right? Keep in mind also that the Bible was written 40 decades, 40 years, or 60 years after the death of, and none of the people who wrote the Bible ever walked with Jesus Christ. Never walked with him. All right? Paul, John, never walked with Jesus Christ. Alayhi salam. So, there's some things that we need to undoctrinate ourselves. All right? The system of white supremacy, as you saw from the doctrine of discovery, yeah, that's where it comes from. That's where all the divisions come from. Okay? This is history. History they don't teach you in school. Critical race theory. Why do you want to banish critical race theory? Because it's truth-telling. They don't want you to know the truth, especially the white kids. They don't want to know how barbaric and savage they have been, that history come out of. Yeah. They don't want you to know that. So they want to abandon critical race theory because it's truth-telling. It's re-examining that history. All right? It's not a theory. It's a reality. It's facts. Okay, so there's a lot that we can talk about, a lot that we can discuss in terms of both history and the practical dynamics of struggle that we have to engage in this country. Right now, it's very crucial. It's critical. All right? We have a white supremacist, a plutocrat in control of the Army, the Navy, the National Guard, the Coast Guard, law enforcement. All right? We got a sick society. That's what we have. All right? And the only way we can heal this sick society is love. That's the only thing that's going to heal this society. We have to learn love, what that really means. All right, and begins what I said earlier? Oh, she left, all right? That man in the mirror. That's where it begins. Any more questions?
Thanks. All right, thank you so much for your empowering talk. When getting involved in like pro-liberation and progressive movements, what do you say to people that call you a terrorist, someone who is promoting militant anti-white, just things in general?
Who's anti-white? I don't believe in being. I'm not anti-white. I'm anti-white supremacist. I'm not anti-white at all. Right? I don't espouse that. I don't promote that. All right? I'm pro-people. all right, despite your color or your lack of melanin. Our struggle is a struggle of humanity, okay? I don't care which way you want to categorize it or, structure it, or you say socialist, communist, equalitarian. I like the word equalitarian, all right? And so we need to find, and that's one of the problems that we have in our struggle to trying to build national unity, right? Because we have to build a national front. That's what the people Senate is going to represent, right? A national front. But in order to do so, we have to be open enough to recognize that there are people on different levels of commitment, right, and understanding of our struggle. In my book, there's a chapter called "Commitment is the Key." You have to be committed, right? There's no halfway about this. Either you're down or you're not, right? Like I talked about a woman being half pregnant, right? Either you are or you're not, okay? And so there's various organizations. Like I said, I was originally I was part of an organization called US, right? Ron Karanga and his group, cultural nationalists, and I evolved into a revolutionary nationalist, okay? Muslim revolutionary nationalist, yeah. And so that's evolutionary process. You have to be prepared to evolve, right? We are a species. Being a revolution, let me take this word. The word revolutionary. You take the R off, what do you have? What? Evolutionary. I'm evolutionary. As a species on this planet, we have to evolve. Have we not? From Neanderthals, Cro-Magnon, to Homo sapien, Homo sapien sapien. As a species, we evolve, okay? If we don't evolve, you devolve, all right? So in some instances like this, right, it's a necessity to put the R on. The process of evolving our society, our social order, from one state of existence to a higher and better state of existence. It's a process, okay? And so if we believe in the process that we are a species that evolves, sometimes we have to put the R back on. Because there are certain forces that don't even want to evolve. They're stagnant. All right? So they have to be forced to move out. We say kicked into the dustbin of history. Shoveled into the dustbin of history. All right? That's evolution. Okay? And the process may have to be revolution. So as a revolutionary, I'm also evolutionary. I believe that we as a species have to evolve. In the process of doing so, sometimes it will require some stronger tactics than just faith. All right? That we have to put faith in the motion. We have to materialize our faith, our belief. Right? We have to make it living. All right? So, whatever organization that you're in, that you're involved with, right, understand their programs and to what extent that it's really associated to the people. Boots on the ground, right? If it's not, it's just theoretical. They just giving lip service to the struggle if they ain't actually doing the work. So I don't care what organization you're in if you're doing the work, right? The ideological foundation, right? We may have to discuss that later on down the line as we evolve and build, okay? But our common goals and objectives has to be anti-imperialist, anti-capitalism, anti-patriarchy, anti-fascism, anti-white supremacy, pro-national liberation and independence of oppressed people. And if you're there, we're on the same page, right? And we can figure out all the rest, okay? I might be building houses and you might be building planes, right? We're all building together. And that's what's important, as long as we're building. I hope I answered your question. Okay. Anyone else?
Oh, and just a final reminder before people leave, there was a reminder in the beginning to support People's Fund and redistribute money to people in the global south. I see a lot of white faces here. If you learned anything from this presentation, you should definitely open up your wallets and send reoccurring donations, because not a single penny is yours. It is all stolen from African people. So there should be QR codes. You should have been handed it. If not, it's at the market that's up there. So yeah, especially if you're white, none of the wealth is yours. And so go ahead and support People's Fund with reoccurring donations. Thank you.
Can I say something about that, what you just said? Yeah. If you're going to act it because of your good conscience, right? I don't want to be engaging in any type of guilt tripping, okay? And sometimes we find ourselves, because of understanding this history, understanding what we are confronting, that's easy to do, right? To try to guilt trip someone. I don't want you involved if you're not wholeheartedly engaged, right? If you ain't doing it from out your heart. That's the first thing I point to when I start talking. I say it's your heart, right? If you're not responding to these conditions based upon what you really feel, right, and not being guilted into it, then I love you, right? And I say that with all sincerity. But if you're guilt tripping, I know that's fake, it's false, right? That you might feel guilty today and tomorrow is something different, right? So I ask that if you're going to be involved, do it from your heart, right? Do it sincerely, right? And as I mentioned to the sister earlier, right? We don't know, in as much as we have allies, we prefer to have collaborators, right? Collaborate, be involved, be engaged, be a part of it, right? And not just a bystander or a sightseer. Okay, so, well, of course, if you got money, we can use it. We don't have benefactors. The white supremacists, they got billionaires, right? They are creating a world for themselves, right? And so we got work to do. And like I said, we don't have any benefactors. We are a poor people's campaign, for real, you know? Okay. I want to thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you. I got love for you if you're about this struggle, all right? And I know the majority of you are here. You're not my enemy, right? Let's hope that you are definitely my friend, all right? Assalamu alaikum, peace, boss, Baragani, Jumbo. Oh yeah, I got books up there if you guys want to buy books. I got 2 left down here. There's some newspapers here called Rebuild. If you want to pick up one, pick up one.
Thank you all. Oh.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much for your time.